The Sound Lab, 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 the Sound Lab.
Experimenting with the best new music.
So I'm here with Slash. Now let's talk about your lead single, Driving Rain, and why was it chosen to be the lead track for the album? And do you think it sets the pace for what fans can expect from the rest of the album?
Driving Rain is basically, it's just one of the songs that, I'm trying to think of the origins of the riff. I remember we were playing a show in the Hamptons, and that was the first time that I showed the band the riff, and we were doing a sound check, and Myles had his phone with him, and he was recording some melodic ideas into that. And that was really the origins of Driving Rain. Didn't really come together until we started pre-production in earnest for this record in February. So February 2018. And once it was finished, we chose it as the first single because it seemed just up-tempo enough, without being, super fast. It had a catchy melody, and I don't know. It just seemed like a very neutral, easy kind of song that could be an accessible first single.
Yeah, and how easy or difficult is it to put together the songs whilst the band is spread across the country at any given time, and talk about the writing process?
Let's see, writing on the road is pretty easy for me because since that's where I spend all my time, and I always have a guitar with me, I find that I write in my hotel room, just sitting around watching TV, and I write a lot in the dressing room waiting to go on. Sometimes I write on the bus, and it's actually easier for me to write on the road than it is for me to write at home because I have less distractions when I'm on the road. And then what happens is if I come up with a good idea, I just record it on my phone and I just save that. Sometimes I'll take an idea and introduce it to the band at sound check, and we can start jamming on it, and I can almost automatically tell if it's something really worth pursuing or not. Otherwise, when the tour ends or when we have a decent sized break, I can just sit down, listen to all the different ideas that I had on my phone, and if something still sounds good to me, then I'll pursue it then.
Yeah. And do you sit down with Myles Kennedy and see what lyrical, melodic ideas he has stored away, and say that you think something could work for one of your songs as opposed to him wanting it for Alter Bridge?
With work, when it comes to working with Myles, we have a pretty good system. I just come up with musical bits and play them for him, and they more often than not just inspires a melody and a lyric, and that's basically how it goes. So, always it starts with the music, and then that's where the melody and then the lyric comes from.
Now, what songs are your particular favourites on the record, and which ones are you proud of?
For Living the Dream record, it's hard for me to pick a favorite because I'm really close to all the material, and anytime you put a song on a record, you want to like it enough to go through the process of actually arranging it and recording it and mixing it and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to pick a favorite. But I was particularly proud of The Great Pretender on this record, but because it was such a departure from anything that we've done to date. And it was a very different kind of a feel for us, and it took some work to get it so that it came across correctly, because we could have just slapped it together without putting the time in, and I don't think it would have been as effective. So I'm proud of how we pulled that off, but I'm particularly proud of the whole record because I think for the most part it's for a hard rock record, it's pretty diverse.
So let's talk about the artwork, the album artwork. And for those who haven't seen it, who was the artist? How did the relationship come about, and how does it tie in with the title?
For the album artwork, I worked with Ron English, who is somebody that I worked with on the World on Fire record, the last record, and also on the first solo record. He's a pop artist that I think is really great. I think his stuff is very electric and alive and very cutting edge, and I like the subject matter he touches on. For this album, though, because I was calling it "Living the Dream," and because it was more of a political statement, I had this idea of having a piece of art that sort of touched on some sort of misadventure that was a little tongue-in-cheek, calling it "Living the Dream," and somebody's like falling off a boat or something. I don't know. But I realized that "Living the Dream" was too broad a statement for any one particular image like that, so I decided to make the album cover unrelated to the title. So I used one of Ron's sort of signature smiley skull images, and then put a top hat on it, and he added the star eyes, which is sort of a trademark of his, and we just decided to go with that, and I think it came out really cool.
Now, the UK is a special place for you. Now, how excited are you to come back and play to the UK fans? And what can we expect from the new show?
Looking forward to coming back to the UK in February, March. And, the UK always has a special place in my heart, out of all the different cities and countries that I play in, basically because I was born in Hampstead and, was sort of raised in Stoke for the first few years of my life, and just always had a particular, a lot of my favorite music came out of England, and a lot of my family's in England, and so I just have a natural affinity for the UK in general. So, and it's also one of the best audiences to play for, so I'm looking forward to it. And I have no idea as of yet what the new live show is going to be exactly. I mean, it's never very complicated with the Conspirators. It's just us on stage, and so I'm just going to put together a set list. I'm excited to get back to LA so we can start rehearsing and get an idea of what all the songs are going to be. But I do know that it's going to be a lot less Guns N' Roses and less Velvet Revolver and less Snake Pit and more just Conspirators original music. So that's one thing I know for sure.
Slash, thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers.
The Sound Lab, 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 the Sound Lab.
Experimenting with the best new music.